My name is Carl, and let's watch
Hello
this.
and welcome back. You're here for Warp into War, and today we are really getting
Rump.
into the weeds of Warhammer 40,000 10th edition.
We really are. We're putting the paintbrushes down today.
Mm,
This is all strategy. We're looking at the movement phase. Well, actually, the phase before the movement phase.
exactly. We are cracking open the scout ability. And I know what some of you are thinking. You see scout 6 inches on a data sheet and you think, okay, cool, free move, nice.
Yeah, nice to have, right? But it's so much more than that.
So much more. We've been digging through the core rules, the latest balance data slate, the tournament companion, everything, and it turns out this rule is, well, it's kind of the difference between a casual game and a competitive masterclass.
It really is. It's one of those mechanics that separates, a casual game from someone who's really playing the mission to win. It's not just about moving fast. It's about information warfare.
So let's set the stage. To really get why Scout is so powerful, we have to talk about that universal anxiety of Warhammer. Oh. The deployment step.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
You're setting up your army, you've got your big, expensive units ready to go, you want them on the line, you want to be aggressive.
Right, you want to project threat. You want to be able to reach out and touch the opponent on turn one. But then the fear sets in.
A gambler's ruin. You're thinking, if I put this unit right on the line, totally in the open, and I lose the roll-off for the first turn.
My opponent is just going to blow them off the table before they even move.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling. You deploy aggressively, you lose the roll, the opponent gets that little smile, and suddenly your deployment just looks like a suicide note.
But it's also fun. I mean, if my opponent put their tanks in the open, I will also do that because it's fun.
It's a classic trap. You either deploy conservatively and give up the board, or you deploy aggressively and risk just
Yeah.
losing the game instantly if the dice go wrong.
And this is where our topic today just flips the script. The scout rule is basically an insurance policy against that one dice roll, isn't it?
That is the perfect way to put it. It solves the deployment dilemma. It lets you deploy with maximum aggression, but with like zero risk if you lose the roll.
Okay, so before we get into the how, let's just make sure everyone's on the same page with the what. The core rules definition. It usually says scout X inches.
Correct. Usually 6 or 9 inches. The technical definition is that if every model in a unit has the ability, then at the start of the first battle round, they can make a normal move of up to that many inches.
And there's a key restriction there, right? You can't just end up in their face immediately.
Right. You have to end that move more than 9 inches away from all enemy models. So, no pregame charges. It's a positioning move.
But the real magic, and this is what jumped out at me from the tournament mission sequence, is the timing. I think this is the part a lot of people just gloss over.
It is the most critical part of the rule. If you look at the sequence in the mission pack, step 12 is determine first turn. That's the roll-off.
Okay, so that's the moment of truth.
Exactly. And then scout happens at step 13. Resolve pre-battle rules. It happens after you have perfect information about who is going first.
And in the core rules, it says before the first round begins, so you know whose turn it is. And then you apply the scout rule, and then you start the round.
But before the first turn actually begins.
I was trying to think of an analogy. It feels like American football. You line up, that's your deployment, but then you see the result of the coin toss, you see how the defense is set up, and because you have scout, you get to call an audible at the line of scrimmage.
That is spot on. You aren't committed to the play you called in the huddle. You can change everything right before the ball is snapped. That flexibility is just, it's control.
So let's play this out. Scenario A, I've deployed aggressively, right on the line, and I win the roll-off. I'm going first. What does scout do for me?
Now you just mash the gas pedal. You use that scout move to surge forward. Remember, the first turn hasn't even started yet. This is all pre-game.
So I move my unit, say, 6 inches forward.
And then your actual movement phase starts a moment later, and they move again.
The double move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A unit with a 6-inch move and a 6-inch scout is effectively starting the game 12 inches up the board.
That completely changes the geometry of the threat range.
Completely. I mean, if you have a gun with a 24-inch range and you can move 12 inches before you shoot, suddenly you're hitting things 36 inches away on turn one. You're hitting the back of their deployment zone.
You're getting firing angles on units the opponent thought were totally safe.
That's really cool. I can move with Astra Militarum. I can move ahead with Chimera, for instance, and then I shoot a hunter-killer missile behind at the Land Raider that is hiding, for instance. So
Or, if you're a melee army, You're staging for a turn 1 charge. You are in their face immediately, pinning them back and forcing them to react to you.
I love that. Pure aggression. But, okay, let's flip it. This is the part that saves you the game. Scenario B. I deployed aggressively, I'm feeling great, and then I roll a 1. You roll a 6, I'm going second.
The moment of dread.
But not with Scout.
Not with Scout. This is what we call the defensive pivot, or a null deploy. Since you know you're going second, you just use that pregame Scout move to retreat.
So I can just run away.
You can move in any direction. So you just walk your unit backwards or sideways right behind a big piece of terrain, completely out of line of sight.
That's brilliant. So my opponent spent their whole deployment setting up their big guns to kill my unit that was standing in the open.
And now, when their turn starts, they have no target.
It's a phantom.
You've completely wasted their deployment efficiency. They set up these perfect firing lanes for a unit that just isn't there anymore. Now they have to move their heavy guns just to find a new angle.
So it's a true safety valve. I can deploy as if I'm going first every single time with basically 0 risk.
Essentially, yes. If you have Scout, the correct play is almost always to deploy aggressively. If you get the turn, you launch. If you don't, you hide.
Okay, beyond just killing or hiding, there's the mission itself. You know, these games are won on victory points.
A huge point. You can wipe the opponent off the board, but if you didn't hold the objectives, you lose. And most of those are in no man's land.
Right. And usually you spend turn 1 just running to get onto an objective.
Exactly. You run out, stand on the circle, and then your opponent just shoots you off it. But with Scout, you can often be standing on those objectives before the first turn even begins. You're staging. Yeah, you aren't just running blindly. You use the pregame move to get behind a wall that's near the objective. Then on your actual turn, you just take 1 step onto it. Or if you're tough enough, you stand right on it from the get-go.
And if the mission is take and hold,
you are forcing a response. Your opponent has to come deal with you, or you start racking up points. You dictate the entire tempo of the game.
There's another benefit here that's really subtle. Decongestion.
The parking lot problem.
Yes, exactly. In my deployment zone, things get so tight. You've got tanks, infantry, all trying to cram behind the same piece of cover. Yeah. It's a traffic jam.
It is. And vehicles can't move through walls in this edition. So if your Rhino is in front of your Land Raider, that Land Raider is stuck.
Scout units kind of act as a pressure release valve.
They do. By moving them out of the deployment zone early, you literally remove their footprint from that crowded area. You physically clear the lanes for your heavy hitters behind them.
So my tanks actually have room to pivot and move out on turn 1.
Exactly. You're not tripping over your own feet. It sounds minor, but in a tournament, that's huge for efficiency.
Okay, I want to pivot to something that takes this from, tactical utility to actually terrifying transports.
This is where the power level really spikes. The core rules are clear. Dedicated transports, like Rhinos or Impulsors, they gain the Scout ability if every model inside has it.
So I'm not just moving 5 guys 6 inches. I'm moving an armored box.
You're moving a toughness 9 or 10 armored box.
Yeah.
And that box is tough to shift.
So the transport makes its Scout move. Then turn 1 starts, the transport moves again.
And now deep in their lines.
Yeah.
And that's when you can use the transport itself as a weapon.
The tank shock stratagem.
Exactly. That Rhino moves 6 inches pre-game, then another 12 in the movement phase. It charges something, you pay 1 CP for tank shock, and you're dealing mortal wounds just by slamming into them.
So you're tying them up in combat, dealing damage, and they can't shoot.
And you're doing this on turn 1. It creates what I call the pinata effect.
The pinata effect.
Think about it. That Rhino is now sitting on an objective in the middle of the board. The opponent wants that objective. But first, they have to blow up the Rhino, the shell. That takes serious firepower.
And once the Rhino blows up,
the candy falls out. The unit inside disembarks. And they're probably still standing right on the objective.
So the opponent wasted their whole shooting phase killing the bus, and they still don't control the point.
Precisely. Now they have to deal with the unit inside. It just eats up a massive amount of their resources, all because you got that early move.
Okay, so we've established Scout is amazing, but this is a deep dive, so let's look at the fine print. The core rules updates and rules commentary articles have some gotchas.
Yeah, there are 3 main nuances that are vital to know, especially for tournaments.
Number 1, speed versus Scout value. What's the deal there?
Right, so sometimes you have a slow model. Maybe its move characteristic is only 5 inches. But the rule says Scout 9 inches.
The gut feeling is, well, I can only move 5 inches. That's how fast I am.
That's what you'd think. But the rules commentary clarifies that the Scout value takes precedence. If it says Scout 9, you move 9 inches, period. Even if your stat line is lower.
So you're not capped. Good to know. Okay, number 2 is probably the one I see messed up the most. Attached units. Leaders joining bodyguards.
This is the big pitfall. The rule says for a unit to scout, every single model in the unit has to have the ability.
So if I have a squad of scouts and I attach a captain who does not have the rule.
The whole unit loses it.
Yeah.
The captain basically tells everyone to wait up, nobody moves.
Ouch. Okay. But what if they both have it, but at different values? Like the leader has Scout 9 and the unit has Scout 6.
They're limited to the shortest distance, so
Yeah.
they all move 6 inches. You always play to the lowest common denominator.
Got it. Keep the formation tight. And the third point was about those transports again.
Right. The update clarified that the source of the scout ability doesn't matter.
What do you mean by source?
Well, a unit might have scout on its datasheet, or a character might give it to them, or maybe an enhancement, an upgrade, grants them the rule.
Ah, I see. So if my character is wearing the boots of speed or whatever.
Exactly. The rules commentary is clear. The transport does not care how the models inside got the keyword. As long as they all have it when it's time to move, the transport gets to move too.
That opens up some really creative list building.
It really does.
Okay, so to bring this all together, Scout isn't just extra movement, it's a multi-tool.
Absolutely. To recap, it's got 3 main pillars. First, aggression. Win the first turn, and you just extend your threat range massively.
Second, defense. Lose the roll-off, and you hide. The null deploy.
And third, utility. You grab objectives, you decongest your deployment, and you launch those transport pinatas into the midboard.
It changes the game from I hope I roll high to I have a plan no matter what happens.
That's the mark of a good general, right?
No.
Removing variance.
So let me ask you, have you used this recently? Was there a moment where Scout really won you a game?
Oh, absolutely. I was playing against a heavy shooting army. I had 1 unit of infantry with scout. I deployed them right out in the open, looking like a free kill right in front of his big tank.
You were baiting the trap.
100%. He deployed his whole army to wipe them out. He was so focused on that 1 unit, I lost the roll-off. He got that smile, you know?
And then step 13 happens.
I just used my scout move to step 6 inches sideways, completely behind a solid ruin.
And his tank.
It had no targets.
Yeah.
He had to spend his entire first turn just moving his heavy tank to get a new line of sight. It completely blunted his alpha strike. That one little move bought me the tempo for the entire game.
Yeah, but usually in tournaments and so on, you play transparent. So you acknowledge to your opponents that this one have a scout, it will be moving, so you don't try to trick your opponent and so on.
That's fantastic. It's psychological warfare as much as anything else.
It is. And that leads to a final thought I'd like to leave with everyone.
Go for it.
Think about the psychological impact on your opponent. How do they play differently just knowing that you can move before the game even starts? Do they deploy too far back because they're afraid of your reach? Do they overcommit trying to catch you only for you to just vanish?
Are you winning the game before the first die is even thrown?
That's the question. If you can force your opponent into making mistakes during deployment just because they're worried about your scout moves, you've already won the mental battle.
A great thought to end on. Well, that wraps up this deep dive into the Scout rule. We hope this helps you navigate the deployment step a little bit safer in your next game. Thanks for listening to Warp into War.
Couldn't agree more. Good luck with your dice rolls.
Great, thanks.